Hey guys, I'm Savina. Welcome to my channel. This video just seemed fitting. I had something else planned, but with everything going on right now, seems like the right moment. So I just want to say hands down, one of the reasons I wanted to be a part of the Potterverse or the Wizarding World community or Pottergram for that matter was because of how accepting and how great everyone seemed to each other. So half the time when you look at people's profiles, you don't even see pictures of themselves. You're cheering people on. You're helping them get to success. You're promoting other people. And a lot of time we don't know who the other person is, and I think that's pretty magical. It's the Wizarding World magic at work, and it's really usually a very uplifting place, and it's one I'm proud to be a part of now. I'm not that big. I have a little over 100 followers, but like I said, there's room for everybody there, and that's what at least I've always felt like. So by now, I'm pretty sure everyone has an idea of what's going on. George Floyd, the protests, the riots, the movements. It's been a lot. It's been overwhelming. I don't know how this is going to be received, but I'm hoping for something positive. And even if there's something you disagree with what I say, please comment down below. I am all for civil discussions. I am not going to get into politics here. That's two things I don't argue with people are religion and politics, at least in detail. I don't really see a lot of good come from it, and I just want this to stay a positive place, but a place that you could talk about things as well. So with everything going on, just like I expected, the Potter universe came together, the Wizarding World came together. People are promoting Black Lives Matter and racial equality. So some really cool things I've been seeing. More people got involved. It spread like wildfire. People are posting sites to go to, information you can get, and all of this is great. It really is, and it made me feel proud to be part of the Potter world or Pottergram. And then, it's everything is not perfect. Things kind of took a turn, but not in let me explain. So things started to take a turn, and it was a little upsetting, but people are frustrated and angry. One example that I saw, and this is kind of what I want to touch on, there's a lot of positivity happening, there is, but on the other end, I think there's some things we have to work on. There's this one Instagrammer, I'm not going to disclose his name. He seems like the sweetest person ever. I've talked to him multiple times. He always responds to me. He has a decent following. He seems like such a genuine person. He's always promoting others and trying to do right by others. And he had one comment, just one, when it came to the protest and everything going on. And basically all he said, I read it, all he said was, with everything going on, he has concerns with the protests and COVID. I mean, to me, that's a rational thought. It's rational to kind of put that out there. We came off of this crazy scare. We're still coming off of this crazy scare. And that's all he said. Is it about being wise when protesting together, all these people together? And people took that the wrong way really quickly. This guy started getting bashed. And when I mean bashed, there was like no holding back. He made a simple statement about a real issue that was happening, and people started calling him a racist, and he's insensitive, and he doesn't understand. And I was like, whoa. You know, and then you have this guy who really meant well to start apologizing like he committed some crazy crime, or like he said something crazy offensive, and I didn't understand it. You know, I did not understand it. His thoughts were valid. He was not against what happened, or he wasn't against the police officers responsible being brought to justice. He just had a real concern. And then it kind of just was like, wow. And I think this is what we need to talk about. So everybody started posting Black Lives Matter. I have no problem with that at all. I think the world has been in agreement that what happened shouldn't have happened, and those officers need to pay for what they did. Hands down. There's no question about it, right? Everybody muted or tried to on social media, posting up Black Lives Matter, trying to post up information, promote other people of color, which is great. You know, there's a lot of positivity coming out of it. But at the same time, I'm seeing things on the other end too. Myself personally, I sat there and debated if to mute myself as well and do the same. And it's not, and I really sat there and thought about it, and I decided not to. And it's not because I don't care about what's happening or how people feel, and I don't think what happened was right. By no means. It's just, I realized how one-sided things started to become. Now let me explain. And this is where things got pretty personal for me. As you can see clearly, I'm not white, I'm not black. I posted up something, and it was a status that I made on Facebook, and I'll get into that in a minute. I actually received hate on Potterverse for it, and I did not understand why. Now, this was my post, okay? I live in New York. My parents own a small grocery store, and we are trying to keep everybody safe, trying to follow all regulations. There was a customer who came in. She did not have a mask. At this point, we are still at the point where to get into our establishment, we will only do business with you if you have a mask on to protect yourself, ourselves, and the people around you, right? This lady comes in and she's like, can you please cash me? You need to cash me, I gotta go. And my parents said, hey, no, you need to either get a mask or you can't be in here. So she says, okay. She goes, gets her mask. She puts her mask around her neck or by her chin, and she doesn't put it on fully, right? Okay, they say, hey, miss, can you please put on your mask? It needs to be on if you're going to be in here. She then refused, and then, I kid you not, her comment was, that's why they're going to come for your business tomorrow. We're coming for you tomorrow. Excuse me? What? And this is where it made me so angry. This has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Nothing. But that is somebody's mentality. And this is where things started taking a turn in my head. And again, I don't know how you guys are going to see this, but if that's someone's mentality, to do your own bidding over bitterness, that has nothing to do with anything. I can't justify the riots and the violence that I've seen around me. Because not all, and this is where it gets a little sketchy. There are people trying to do the right thing. There are people peacefully protesting, trying to get their message out, banding together, want reform. By all means, that's great. And then there's people destroying. That's the only thing I could describe it as, destroying. I watched the city I love get ripped apart, and it made me feel horrible. And then you start to really think the people who are destroying, how can they be for a cause of justice by doing something like that? And then this is what I get. So you see, in my community, even before that threat to my parents' business, there were rumors and talks of, and obviously we have been seeing it all around New York, where small businesses are getting destroyed. And I have people that I'm seeing left and right preaching and saying that it's for the cause, profit over lives, small businesses will be okay because they have insurance. Small businesses will be okay because they have insurance. So it started becoming like, okay, yeah, small businesses could be sacrificed for the cause and they'll be alright eventually. Who is anybody, in my head, who is anybody to make that call? How is it your right to say who must sacrifice? Make a sacrifice like that. Nobody is putting profit over lives. These are people's lives, innocent people. My parents have nothing to do with this. All these people that lost businesses have nothing to do with it. In my book, pain does not heal pain. And I say that because, and this kind of all ties back into Black Lives Matter, because on one end, people are saying, no, those who are doing that are not protesters, they're not for the cause, they're not part of this movement. And then there's a whole other half of people saying, yes, we deserve to do this, so much was taken from us, you guys burned down our churches, our homes, and now pretty much it's your turn, so deal with it because we had to deal with it. So in my head I'm like, well, which one is it? Are they a part of the cause? Or are they just people going after their own agenda? And obviously I've seen, and I know, there are opportunists. There are, who see a situation and take advantage of it. And they do. And it just gets tied in with what's going on. And I know everybody doesn't feel that, like everybody is not doing that. And then I know that, it seems like people who are doing that think it's the right thing. There's so many gray areas in my mind. And then I'm like, wait a second, in my post, I just briefly said what happened. And in my post, I actually wrote, we serve a community of minorities. And we do. I mean, we're minorities ourselves. And we serve a community of minorities. And then I stopped for a second after the fact that it's been up now for over a day. Why did I even have to disclose that? The fact that we serve minorities or not. We're innocent people. All these people, they're innocent people. Whether we serve minorities or not shouldn't be a factor in if we get destroyed or not. That's where I stand. I don't understand. And that's why I struggled with the whole muting myself or solely pushing Black Lives Matter, because it became confusing to a point. We're preaching unity, or everybody's preaching unity and racial equality. What does it mean? Why aren't we being inclusive of everybody? And why is it okay in some, not all, in some people's eyes to just do whatever you want then you have some people's argument that it's because people are tired and this was like the last straw that just blew everything up. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's just what I've been seeing. So that post describing the scenario that happened in my parents' business, I posted it up on Instagram, I posted it up on Facebook. It was pretty well received for the most part. I did have an actual protester, somebody part of Black Lives Matter, reach out to me and say, hey, that person is not a protester. They're just taking advantage of the situation. And don't worry, we have your back. And that did definitely make me feel better. Like I said, it's confusing. Then what I started seeing, like I said about my post on Pottergram actually, and I think this is the one that surprised me the most because I did indeed get crap about it. I had more than one message about it, pretty much telling me that I'm missing the point. I should be more sensitive to the cause. I'm selfish. I somehow became a racist and part of the problem. And it wasn't said nicely. And mind you, this was on Pottergram, and it made me sad because here I was thinking that, everybody is on board together, at least when it came to ideals or things of that nature. And it was something so simple. And then I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's not just me. Anything you say, it seems, if it doesn't fit the mold, you somehow become racist. Somebody explained that one to me. The smallest thing, the guy I was talking about before, he became a racist because I posted that up. That made me racist. If you're against watching your city get destroyed, you're being labeled as a racist. There are people who mean well, and I know this is also a sensitive subject for everybody. When people are saying all lives matter, it has been a subject I'm seeing blow up everywhere, and everybody defending it, and everybody saying nobody said no, all lives didn't matter. When you say all lives matter, it's like saying when someone else is hurt, what about you? There's a whole bunch of things. But in my head, like, the minute somebody says anything along those lines, again, they're branded as a racist. So I just repeat that to yourself. All lives matter. You're racist. All lives matter. You're racist? Maybe some people see it as insensitive. I don't see it as people being like, hey, what about me? It's kind of like for example, the small businesses getting destroyed. Why don't those people's lives matter in what's being destroyed? Why is that call being made? Another one that really had me confused was the fact that throughout this process, or in the last week, there have been deaths and casualties on both ends. There's 4 black cops that lives ended during this protest and riots trying to do the right thing. And it bothered me that it didn't become something big in Black Lives Matter too, because why don't their lives matter as much as why is that not getting the headline? A man was murdered. I understand. It was completely wrong. He did not deserve that. Nobody deserves that. I couldn't watch it. I don't know how people are watching that, but I could not. The cops are finally being brought to justice. I understand people's frustrations, but Black Lives Matter. Those cops mattered. Those lives mattered. They're not getting the headline news either. And that's what made me pause. And I did not post it up. Not because I don't think it matters, but because it all matters. It all matters. And you could get as mad at me as you want, but it's so one-sided. So one-sided. Fighting for racial equality and reform in the justice system, it needs to be done. But how do we overlook things like that? I don't know. And I struggled. And I saw person after person post up, and I decided not to. I decided to kind of stay neutral. Not because I'm a racist. Not because I don't care. Not because I'm defending the cops. Nobody has defended those cops. Nobody. And then another hashtag I started seeing going around, and this is, if somebody could answer this for me, please let me know. And there are a lot of protests on the signs, on posts I'm seeing online, part of people who seem to be part of the Black Lives Matter movement. There's also a hashtag ACAB. I had no idea what it meant. And I looked it up, and it means all cops are bastards. That's literally what it means. And I'm like, wait a second. What? And then people's argument to that is they're saying cops are bastards to the system of racial inequality in the justice system. But then again, I see on signs and spray painted everywhere, and even peaceful protests, good cops equals dead cops. And then I get lost. So which one is it? How, just like what everybody's fighting for, how is suddenly every cop horrible? How? That's something I can't stand by. Because again, it's such a big gray area. There's half people that believe, yeah, it's referencing the injustice in the system, systematic racism. And then there's people who are like, hey, no, all cops are evil, they're all pigs, they all must die. That's a pretty big gap in understanding what something means in my mind. So again, I couldn't get on board with it. And I'm not saying that you have to have my ideals either. It's just, it's so one-sided. I love seeing people push up others in the Black community and support their businesses and their work and their artistry. It's great. But it's so one-sided. One thing, the smallest thing you say, you get the label of being a racist. I am not a racist. And I don't know. You know, I'm sure, if at all, I don't know how many people are going to view this video or not. Like, it feels like everybody has an agenda, or everybody put their own spin on things. And like I said, and not everything is just black, white. There's so much gray area, and it's just been blowing my mind. We live in a world today where any disagreement on views means that person is a horrible, disgusting person. have yet to see a civil conversation happen about why somebody supports something or why not. It's been either you support this or you're disgusting racist. There's been no in between. There's been no, hey, let's talk. It's just been bashing. And I mean, even friends, family, I mean, people you know your whole lives, one thing you say, suddenly you're the biggest racist. And I don't understand. I'm just pointing out facts, what I see. I don't have to pick and choose. I don't have to agree with the looting and the riots. And because I don't agree with that doesn't mean I'm a racist. The same way how I don't condone what happened to George Floyd. It shouldn't have happened. George Floyd's death should not have happened. The officers need to be brought to justice. I agree. So you tell me. It's been a crazy one. You know, I'm here if anybody wants to talk. I say this all the time. Email me. I respond. Comment down below. Please try to keep it civil. I will gladly respond to anybody as long as they keep it civil. As long as it's not bashing each other. I'm not going to tolerate that. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to have a view. Because you have a different view does not mean you're racist. We don't all have to fit into this little box. I hope. When it comes to the Potterverse, I mean, I know it went off on a tangent. Things get a little bit better, or people's tolerance gets better. If you guys stay safe, stay well, look out for each other. And I think I'm going to end on this. There's probably other things I want to touch on, but my mind is kind of, racism is an issue. In the United States, racism is a big issue. But it is not one-sided. And that might rattle a couple people's cages, and kind of don't care. Again, I'm gonna repeat that. Racism is a huge issue in the US. It does exist. It affects a lot of people. But it is not one-sided. So I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about that. But and that's all I'm really gonna cover on any of these things. So, like I said, if that didn't happen on Potterverse, maybe I wouldn't have said anything. But it's too much at this point. We were waiting here today to see if that threat panned out, because protests were supposed to pass through my neighborhood. And we're still waiting. With that being said, again, I do know people are doing the right thing. Please keep at it if you are doing the right thing. Stay safe. I wish we respected each other more. Still love everybody. Comment down below. Email me your thoughts if you just want to talk or get something off your chest. I'm here for it. If not, no problem. And until next time.